Aha. Anthony Joshua and the UFC, former UFC heavyweight champion, Francis Ngannou. Now, they say it ain't a party unless it's a boxing ego party. A lot of people hit me up. They say, Ego, I don't believe it's true unless you make a video about it. Here we are. It's true. Eddie Hearn has posted this. Tonight, we confirm it is a done deal. Anthony Joshua versus Francis Ngannou collide on a huge night in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. The press conference will be January 15th in London with full details dropping soon. Hashtag Joshua versus Francis Ngannou. Wow. So I can't, before I give my thoughts, I'm just processing all the data, all the information. Make sure you guys subscribe. You know what? Now that I think about it, I'm going to make y'all wait. Before I give my thoughts and conclude this video, a word from our sponsor. Are you tired of your YouTube videos not getting any views? Well, consider TubeBuddy. I've used TubeBuddy for years to scale up my YouTube channel. Now we're sitting over 200,000 subscribers. TubeBuddy is a browser extension that offers a ton of built-in productivity and time-saving services to take your channel to the next level. Use my link in the description to get started with TubeBuddy and level up your channel faster. We work. And we are back. Now, let me give you this Easter egg as well. Boxing reporter Dan Raphael says more on Joshua Ngannou card per sources. Zhang Zille, you know, the huge big Chinese heavyweight, will defend the WBO interim championship title on the card. Peep this. His opponent is to be announced, TBA, but possibly Deontay the Bronze Bomber Wilder from Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Oh my God. If it's not Wilder, also a good possibility. Wilder is a good possibility for the card against somebody else. It is all being worked out though. Hashtag boxing. Wow. So let's talk about Wilder and then I'll conclude with the Joshua Ngannou fight. So what this means is this will be the second card in a row where Deontay the Bronze Bomber Wilder from Tuscaloosa, Alabama to this day is on a Joshua undercard. I don't know how I feel about that. But I will say this, because I have seen some people in the comment section and they're upset and they're crying, and I've seen all kinds of comments. They say, oh, but Ego, why is Joshua fighting Ngannou? They say, oh, but Ego, I don't want to see that. I still would have preferred Joshua versus Deontay Wilder in March. And anybody who feels that way, I'm not even really mad at that, because the longer standing rivalry has truly been Anthony Joshua and Deontay the Bronze Bomber Wilder. However, I am a fair and objective critic, and I give you guys my honest opinion and assessment. Joshua Ngannou, despite some people feeling, oh, I'd rather it be Wilder, or why is Joshua fighting a UFC fighter? I ain't mad at it. What can I say? I am not mad at Joshua fighting Ngannou. And y'all know I'm a big fan of Wilder, but here's the reality. I like Wilder. I like the movement. But the reality of the matter is Joshua and Wilder just fought, I believe, December 23rd, right before the new year. Happy 2024. And they both had an opportunity, and a future Joshua Wilder fight was really contingent upon both fighters winning. Joshua, he did his part. He beat the man in front of him, which was Otto Wallin. Wilder, on the other hand, he didn't. Wilder came up short. Wilder was defeated. And not only did he lose, it wasn't even like a controversial loss. It wasn't like a loss where you look at it and you're like, oh man, I gave this and this round to Wilder. it just wasn't his night. You know, it wasn't a great performance. So how can I be mad at Eddie Hearn? How can Boxing Ego, me being as real as I am, how can I be mad at Anthony Joshua? And you know, for dang sure, I'm not mad at Francis Ngannou, because this man, let's say he didn't get the best treatment in the UFC. Him and Dana White seemingly had issues in a contemptuous relationship. It was up and down. He couldn't get the paydays that he wanted with the UFC, whatever his case was, right? And at the end of the day, he was sat on the shelf. He was coming off injury, sat off the shelf, finally gets an opportunity in boxing, not even his immediate sport, fights the WBC champion of the world that beat Wilder in Tyson Fury. Not only does he drop Tyson Fury, I believe, in the second round, but many, including myself, believe that Francis Ngannou truly beat Tyson Fury in that fight, despite the judges giving it to Tyson Fury. If you watched it, just like I watched it, many people don't side with the actual judges. And at the end of the day, in boxing, this seems to happen a lot, where a judge or a referee will make a weirdo. Like, just look at Rolly and Barroso, who's fighting tomorrow. But many people don't like the job that Tony Weeks did in that specific fight. They don't agree with the ref's decision to stop the fight, and didn't like the stoppage at all. And I didn't like the stoppage at all. Just like I didn't like certain decisions like Pernell Whitaker. The whole world knows he didn't draw with Julio Cesar Chavez. Everybody knows, if you know boxing and you're not a racist and you're a true fan of the sport, you know Pernell Whitaker really beat Chavez. He definitely beat him, you know, and I understand Wilder, he feels the type of way because he came up short with Joseph Parker, lost the fight. So he messed up the bag, or the potential bag, as they've moved on to Francis Ngannou. But I can't fault. So Tyson Fury winning versus Ngannou was truly cap, especially when you include the knockdown. And there was another round in that fight with Ngannou where you arguably could have scored another knockdown. I forget what round it is, but all in all, Tyson Fury should have lost that fight. So am I mad at Eddie Hearn and Anthony Joshua for picking Ngannou? No, you know, at the end of the day, Joshua was extremely active. He fought like Jermaine Franklin, like he fought the Usyk, but then after that he fought Jermaine Franklin, supposed to fight Dillian White. He failed a PED test, so he had to take a late replacement, which was a guy who had already been knocked out recently by Wilder. But it's really not Joshua's fault, given the fact that his actual opponent was supposed to be a bloodbath type of rematch with Dillian White, and he dropped the ball by failing the PED test. So again, I'm not going to blame Joshua for these things, right? And he knocked out Helenius. Then he came back in December, and we all know the fight, the winners were supposed to meet. Wilder, if he won, and Joshua. So I understand Wilder probably feels a different way, because he's like, oh, Joshua, he don't want to fight me. He's going to use this as a way out. But at the same time, if I'm being fair, you gave him a way out. You gave him a way out by losing. You lost to a guy that Joshua already beat in Joseph Parker. And we all know it was contingent on you passing that test. I mean, it's no different than, let's say you go to the NFL Combine, and on that given day, you got to impress the coaches and the scouts. And then if you just had such a bad run and your time was lousy, and then you couldn't get up the field and catch the balls, or if you're a quarterback and you're not showing them that you have an arm, then that's no one else's fault if somebody else gets drafted. And that's what happened. Joshua soundly beat Otto Wylien. It was a rematch from the amateurs. There was no discrepancies. There's no problem with the stoppage. Otto Wylien even gave props to Joshua for his performance. And Wilder kind of dropped the bag just in the fact that he lost, you know, and it happens. And I hope 2023 really showed you a lot, because Joseph Parker fought like 3 times last year, and especially he fought like 52 days before the actual fight with Wilder. I keep telling you on the channel, maybe somebody out there will listen. Activity matters. And Joseph Parker, despite having a kind of recent loss by knockout to Joe Joyce, he did come back. He's a former champion, and then he kept that activity up. Wilder had one round with Robert Helenius in 3 years, roughly, 2-3 years. And that's not a fight because Robert Helenius, he just got knocked out. Wilder threw 2 punches. That's not, yes, he went through a full training camp. They both went through a full training camp, but that's not the same. That's not the same as having like a true fight. So when you get Wilder, who has a new trainer and a new style that he seems to be working on, and he's trying to adapt to that, plus you don't give him activity, plus he's 38 years old, it's like a recipe for disaster. And what I said is hopefully these fighters learn from this, because Wilder made mistakes with the inactivity. Errol Spence made a mistake. Crawford got a fight in December, so he was ready for the fight that he had, whatever it was, July or whatever it was, with Errol Spence. Meanwhile, Errol Spence didn't fight in a year, and it was the Ugas was his last fight. So these long dry spells and giving up A-side advantages and all that. You had even Cool Boy Fulton. He chose to fight in Japan. You got to acclimate to new time zones, and you were the champion. You had Naoya Inoue. He moving up in weight, and everyone's like, oh, he looks so good and he looks spectacular. And then he got that off of your back because, you kind of gave up some of your A-side leverages. Like, oh, we had to fight in Japan. I mean, all right, give up your advantage in terms of the business, and then now when you lose, you got to rebuild. And that's kind of what happened with Deontay Wilder, to be honest. It's not that Wilder's a bad fighter. Wilder, 38, aging, inactivity. Inactivity, that'll get you. And I'm not trying to take away credit, because I know some people, oh, you're taking credit from Joseph Parker. I've met Joseph Parker, met Wilder. I have no malice against either fighter. Even Wilder himself said Joseph Parker's a cool cat, right? After losing to him. But at the end of the day, fair is fair, and I'm going to give you guys a fair and honest breakdown. Joshua did his part. He's been active, and he beat his man. Wilder, he came up short in that. So Joshua moves on. Eddie Hearn moves on. And again, I don't doubt, like for me, I don't think that Eddie Hearn and Joshua for a long time have wanted the Wilder fight. I don't think that, especially in the past, but even more recently. But like I said, the problem lies with this. You gave them a way out. Like, if you really want to make your point, that's the only fight Wilder had to win. Eddie Hearn already told you. Joshua, Wilder, everybody involved already told you. It was pretty much sold up. It was pretty much a done deal. So Wilder didn't complete his test. You can't get mad at anybody, and I'm not going to be mad at Ngannou. He's getting his bag. He's an older fighter, around Wilder's age. He had a good showing with Tyson Fury, and he's trying to make a name for himself. Joshua, he's moving on. You already have Tyson Fury fighting Usyk, so it's not like Joshua could have fought a Usyk trilogy. It's not like he could have fought Tyson Fury. I don't know where the hell Dillian White has been since he failed a PED test. So it's like, who does Joshua need to fight? Yes, he could have still fought Deontay the Bronze Bomber Wilder, but who knows? The people putting up money in Saudi Arabia, yes, they got a lot of it. His Excellency, they're trying to bring big events. And let's be real, the Wilder fight was dampened by the loss to Joseph Parker and the showing. I mean, there's many critics out there who had Wilder losing every single round. So, if you really needed the Joshua fight, you had to win versus Parker. And again, some people are going to this is a tough pill to swallow. Like, oh, Joshua, look for a way out. But like I keep saying, the way you could have made it so he didn't have a way out, you had to win. And unfortunately, Wilder didn't. So he moves on. Maybe the fight can happen after. And I would say the same. See, and I'm such a real critic in boxing in terms of, I don't just sugarcoat and beat around the bush and stuff, but I'm so fair in my assessments. Here's the thing. I would say the thing, like if Wilder was the main event and he knocked out Joseph Parker and then Joshua lost every round to Otto Wallin, and then it crushed the fight, and then there was no need to see it, or the fight fell apart. It was in jeopardy, just like I told you it was in jeopardy right after. People said, oh no, they're still gonna fight. And then if Wilder was the victor and Joshua was the loser on the same card, my commentary would be the same thing. Joshua blew it. You blew it, kid. I would say the same exact thing because I'm realistic. So that's the thing about boxing. It's to expect the unexpected. It's the theater of the unknown. It's a lot of pressure, but you got to rise to the occasion under that pressure and fulfill your end of the bargain. Because it's like if I go out for a job interview and they like, yeah, Ego, we want to hire you. And they love me. I dress the part. I'm talking the part. My resume looks good on paper. I'm answering all the interview questions right. But then they do a background check and I didn't list certain things on my background check. And then the background check comes back in and I have embezzlement or something crazy on it. Then guess what? That's not the job's fault. They're not going to hire you now. You know why? Because everything didn't check out. And that's the nature of the beast. And that's the nature of boxing. Wilder didn't pass his background check in terms of beating Joseph Parker. It's like you had to complete, like you could have got the job if you completed this last little step, which was you passed all your interviews. Now we're doing the background check. And if you pass the background check, we're going to hire you. But, in the sport of boxing, if you lose when the pressure is on, yeah, the deal could definitely collapse. So I see people mad at Joshua, and it ain't me. Subscribe to the channel for all your realistic, best in the business, boxing news, and it's not even close. Subscribe.